It's hard even to imagine that we've come 10 years, that we've been so deeply involved and integrated in the UN over that period of time. I think this began as a dream, as something that Lehigh aspired to achieve, and the fact that it took us even 5 years to earn the accreditation was significant. And when we became the 6th university in the world to then have this access at the UN, even the UN didn't understand quite what it meant to have a university as an NGO.
And it seemed like a sort of pie in the sky request at that point that undergraduates were going to the UN as a UN delegate, and sure enough, they ended up pulling that off.
At that time, as head of the Education Outreach Section, one of the big events of that particular year was Lehigh University's cooperation with the UN, and it had become the 6th university to have a special status of non-governmental organization with the United Nations. And since then, we started a beautiful partnership and a beautiful relationship with the university, through faculty, through students, through the head of the program. Besides all the program we had and the different briefings and workshops, preparations of the annual conference, that's where I really got to see even firsthand how Lehigh University works.
So it was still pretty young stages of the program, and I was, had the opportunity to represent Lehigh University at the UN, working for the Department of Public Information's NGO section, and it was a magnificent experience.
I'm sure we have more than a dozen students who were serving as delegates to the United Nations. What an incredible thing to be able to put on a resume.
One of my first experiences with the United Nations was actually speaking at a panel at the UN. My core things that I was very connected to as an undergraduate were working at the Community Service Office and working with Engineers Without Borders. And it were those two experiences that led me to be an ideal candidate at a briefing at the UN. That briefing was focused on youth empowerment and volunteerism. And it was that first experience where I became connected to Bill Hunter, and he serves as the director of the UN partnership. And it was some of my preparatory experiences, I guess you could call them, that enabled me to be an effective youth leader at the United Nations.
The first day that I was at the United Nations interning, I had an opportunity to attend briefing with the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and I had an opportunity to see him and also shake hands with him the first day, so it was really inspiring moment for me.
I think my favorite one, which still gives me goosebumps, is being able to interview the Iraqi ambassador to the UN.
I knew that the work that I was doing in my local community could be transferable to a larger stage, and connecting to the United Nations helped me realize my potential as an individual and also how other people could do the exact same thing. And it's important for many individuals at Lehigh to be connected to the UN program because it helps allow them to understand how their studies can be applicable at another level or a different stage. And it helps you be more worldly as an individual as well.
I believe this is an extraordinary opportunity for all students. Before coming to Lehigh, I wouldn't even imagine going to the United Nations one day, and furthermore, being able to represent Lehigh or UNESCO or any other organization at United Nations.
Globally, we only have this one organization that kind of does what the United Nations does. So as an undergraduate, to have an opportunity to work at the United Nations, to be on international soil in New York City, working with other UN interns, I think it's a priceless opportunity. And so when it was presented to me, I jumped at the chance. There was kind of no thinking twice about it. If I could get the opportunity and if I could kind of chase it, I was going to go for it.
It's very important for the United Nations to have solid partners within civil society, and it's so important to get the academic world more involved. First of all, faculty are, they are the source of teaching, of training students, the future leaders, the future citizens of the world. So in a way, the faculty kind of opens the door to possibilities for interested students then to get more involved at the United Nations.
Faculty was stunned to find out that they could take a class down there if they were teaching a class on women's studies, to take the class down to the United Nations and have hearings on women's issues, environmental issues, press freedom issues. To see the growth of it over 10 years has been really exhilarating.
If ever young people are going to understand what it means to be a global citizen, now is the time. And the UN gives them an opportunity to learn about how an international organization works and how the 193 member states find their voice and speak up and lead and participate in a full way. And it gives them a sense, I think, of being part of the larger whole.
A lot of people want to take internships at the UN and to have an opportunity to see how the UN works from the inside. And I think this relationship between Lehigh and the UN has enabled many students from Lehigh to have access to the UN, the workings of the organization, to events inside the UN that maybe without that relationship they wouldn't have had that possibility.
So it kind of impacted what I chose to study in graduate school. It impacted the kinds of jobs that I took after graduate school. It kind of gave me a focal point and a larger goal to say in 15 or 20 years I want to be back working for the United Nations in a different capacity, and so that I can kind of foster that same enthusiasm. And what I will tell you is that the people that I worked with, the staff members at the UN, were tremendous.
For young people, I hope you will not be passive. I hope you will be active, find your voice, form an opinion, base that opinion on knowledge that you have accrued and questions and study and conversations you've had, but then speak up. Really find your voice and don't be shy. Be bold, in fact, be daring. You can be diplomatic too, but you can say strong things that come from here. That is the combination of heart and mind.
And whether it's with the UN or outside the UN, the fact that you have gotten this training in a multicultural makes you a better person.
I think there is the interest in the program is really increasing among the students, and many of my friends are really regretting because there's no open spots to become a youth representative. So I really hope that there will be more NGOs that our students can represent. I hope to see that Lehigh students would get employed with the United Nations more, so that it will strengthen our partnership in the future. I also hope to see the research center where we can maybe unite all the initiatives that are currently in place, but also start doing some international focused research at Lehigh. So Lehigh would become a true global spot for youth representatives and researchers and scholars and policymakers to be able to interact and move forward all together.
Having this NGO accreditation has given Lehigh almost an open door access to the United Nations. Each year we engage more than 1,000 faculty, staff, and students who either go directly to the UN for programs or are on campus engaging in its programs as well. I think the goal is to get Lehigh's students, future leaders, to sit across the table from global decision makers, to get as close as they possibly can to people who are deciding what happens in their world and these long-term implications that will affect the rest of their lives. You all need to be in the room with these people to not only hear what they have to say, but question them. Because ultimately this is your world that we're passing on, so you need to have that access.
Because it's so solid, the program that Lehigh has with the UN, again, in different capacities of the UN, I would like very much to see Lehigh as an advisor capacity to youth in other countries.
10 years is only the beginning. Sounds like a long time, but for us, I think we've just now really discovered lots of opportunities that are yet unfulfilled.
I would like to thank Lehigh University for its strong support of the United Nations over the past decade and for its ongoing partnership with the UN Department of Public information. Institutions of higher learning have a crucial role to play in addressing global challenges. I look forward to many more years of fruitful collaboration with Lehigh.